Good afternoon, drag racing fan. Between the Slicks is live. I'm Lee Kraft, aka the Monday Morning Racer, with another installment covering from the world of drag racing what is, well, Between the Slicks. We're going to continue this focus on NHRA top alcohol, in particular, top alcohol dragster competition, with having on the show this afternoon Mr. Corey. Oh, dear. I had it right, Corey. Let me get it. Corey Michalek. I got it. I got through it, man. We're going to have him on. Michalek Brothers Racing. Big news with them before the end of the season, and obviously through this offseason, looking forward to the rest of the season in 2024. Definitely we're going to have a great conversation with Corey as well, not just the racing side of ownership, but also the racing side of driving, and then the racing side of working on these things and working in the elements of social media and visual impact, if you will, the man behind React 104 and the great cinematic scenes that he's been providing for the world of drag racing and beyond. So looking forward to chatting with him, and we'll have drag racing news as well and have discussion around that. And news, wow, it has been dropped in drag racing. Records shattered. The door slammer world set on fire. What's been going down there at Bradenton Motorsports Park in Florida right before the U.S. Streetcar Nationals spectacular runs. And not just one, but several. We'll talk about that. Some Southeast Gassers Association news, Funny Car Chaos, Nitro Chaos news, and beyond. We're going to take a break. Right after the break, we're going to have Corey on. We'll chat with him and all things Michalek Brothers Racing, AB Motorsports, Angelle Sampey with Corey. I got to thank McKinney Corp, Murph McKinney and the gang over there in Lafayette, Indiana, building some of the best race cars in the industry, but also on the commercial side of matters, doing things for such big and great names as Subaru, Caterpillar, and beyond, even Purdue and the Rocket Lab over there, Zucro Rocket Labs, actually the largest academic operational rocket lab in the world. Anything that has gone up for the United States of America, that propellant came from Purdue. And guess what? McKinney Corp builds things for a rocket lab and builds rocket ships on land for the quarter mile. They do it all. Very thankful for their partnership and what they allow me to do for them. For all your fab needs, it certainly needs to be McKinney Corp. And at this time, we'll take a break, word from them, and then Corey right after this word for McKinney Corp.
McKinney Motorsports is your #1 source for all your chassis needs. McKinney Motorsports is the leading chassis parts supplier and fabricator in nitro drag racing. From custom tanks and fittings, full chassis builds, body mounts, steering components, fasteners, tabs, clamps, composite parts, and much more. Our household name in the racing world guarantees added performance on the track. Join our list of proven winners that spans over 50 years of racing experience.
Corey, man, welcome to the show. Good to finally have you on. I have been looking for an excuse to get you on for a while, and there is no better excuse than all of that has come down the pipe of this silly season of the serious news for the upcoming season for MBR. Look, I have to ask, 2023, whatever today is, done forgot. Did you think you'd be having the day that you've got in 2024 with all that is ahead of MBR racing?
Certainly not. Well, thanks first of all for having me on. Super excited to have a conversation with you about this. Big changes. Before anything happened with Angelle at the end of last year, I think Kyle and I have been pretty straightforward in terms of the reason why we got into Top Alcohol Dragster with our own operation, and that was because we wanted to race ourselves. We got into it originally by racing with a few other teams just to see if this was something that we thought we'd be able to do. Had a great experience with the Dreer family, who's still out there, and then purchased our car. And all sites for moving forward were let's run the wheels off of it as we get the funding by ourselves. I greatly prefer driving. Kyle did a great job driving previously, but has really kind of taken a step back in the driver's seat to really focus on tuning. And that was kind of the plan moving forward. But when Antron Brown and Angelle Sampey, with the combined 6 world championships between them, come knocking on your door saying, hey, we need a ride, one, that's humbling, but two, it's also just an opportunity that you really need to consider and maybe make some alternative plans than what you already had. And here we go. It's grown from one race to a full-on season for this year, and we're really excited about it.
I'm excited for you all, and I'm excited for the class. Before we dive into even the one race deal and what was okay, this is one race deal, let's make it all the best that we can, and what a good result from that one race deal, and now it turning into more. In one of the press releases, they mentioned that either you or your brother or both of you had some experience with the great Mark Thomas. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Mark is actually from our hometown, a little town called Louisville, Ohio. And growing up, I wasn't necessarily interested in motorsports, but my dad and brother always were. And Mark graduated with my mom. So actually, I don't remember the year exactly it was, but we were at Christmas Eve Mass, and Mark and his family were there as well. And anybody that has ever met Mark before knows that one of the nicest guys of all time. And if you have a 2-second conversation with him, you immediately become family. And also it's like you've known him for years. So when they met at that Mass, Mark invited my brother and dad out to the shop. My brother ended up going out and going to a few NHRA events with him. And next thing you know, he was a multi-year crew member where he won a world championship in 2006. And then I joined the team in 2007 and won a world championship with him. So could not have asked for a better start getting into the sport than with a guy and a team like Mark Thomas. One, to show how to handle yourself at the racetrack, and two, how to approach racing from a business perspective and just be on kill when you show up in terms of wanting to get the job done.
Man, that is cool. I mean, Mark Thomas, I don't care if you're talking IHRA, NHRA, AHRA, any other alphabet soup of drag racing out there, legend in the sport of drag racing, and especially in the funny car world, Hall of Famer, no doubt. And I mean, he's got his name on grandstands right there in Norwalk, Ohio. He has a grandstand, for example. So very cool that you've got that background and that connection, and right there in your hometown, impacting you to this very day in the drag racing world. Now, the team that you and your brother have, Michalek Brothers Racing, you're no strangers to success. I'm sure that you all would have loved to have more success, but 2 national event wins under your belt, 4 final round appearances before ever teaming up with Angelle and Antron Brown Motorsports. It's not like y'all don't know how to get the win light on.
Yeah, we've been fortunate. I think, especially when you consider the sample size of events that we've gone to. We've slowly expanded our schedule over the years since we purchased our car in 2015. The first few years we ran 2-3 races at a time, and then we bumped it up to 4, and then I think 6. And then last year was our biggest schedule ever, which was 8 events before Angelle came on for the 9th. And it's been really rewarding to have the results that we've had, like I said, without being out there as much as some of the really front running cars are. We're going to get a little bit more of a taste of that this year. So we'll see how the performance kind of coincides with that. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's just such a cool class with really great people and really, really fast race cars. I know that you and I have talked before in terms of your efforts to really put a spotlight on the class. But I mean, it's the third, when you go to a national event, it's the 3rd fastest class that's there. It's faster than 3 other professional classes. Obviously, it gets overshadowed because it's a similar body style and car as Top Fuel. But just really unique stories, really awesome personalities, and great teams to be around. And it's something that we enjoy and hope to have some more success in as we really involve ourselves from this year and moving forward.
The competition is insane. There is no doubt. It is up there, certainly with the professional classes. It is almost a shame that Top Alcohol Dragster and Top Alcohol Funny Car gets grouped with the sportsman classes, because is it really sportsman? I mean, the way some of the teams are operating, I mean, certainly I don't think Randy Meyer considers himself a sportsman. He's a drag racing professional. I think the McPhillips would consider themselves the same thing. And you all with this venture stepping that much deeper with a full slate. I'm looking at the post on the Facebook page. That is a lot of races that you all have got with Angelle, and then also yourself with, it says, secondary car. So I know the plans were to get a new ride. You still got the old ride and fielding 2 at some point this year?
Yeah, so the car that we've been running since we purchased our operation will continue. It was scheduled to be retired, but with Angelle and Antron reaching out about doing the season for this upcoming year, that car is completely set up for her already. We thought that Dallas was the last race that it would ever run. So when we changed around the pedals and all the driver's control, they were actually welded in. It wasn't just a temporary displacement of them, just because the car has never been set up for multiple drivers the way that like a Randy Meyer or Rich McPhillips car is, where it's a little more plug and play in terms of being able to put different people in the seat. So this thing is ready to rock and roll for her. And the second car, which is being built by Chase Copeland, is in the latter stages of the build at the moment. But given our schedule, with Belrose being the first event coming up in less than a month now, in order to get that to the shop and have it built in time, it just was not going to be feasible. And since the other car was set up for her, it just made more sense that she will run that car as the primary car this year. And then we'll slowly chip away at building the new car, which is now going to require everything brand new, when previously we were going to take the wings, the bell housing, the clutch, all that stuff, the computer, and put it into the new car. Now that we're going to be running the other car as well, we're going to have 2 of everything, essentially. So it'll take a little bit longer to procure those parts, but we're shooting for in July the Columbus Regional to get it out for the first time. And that'll just be me out there. Angelle does not currently have that on the schedule. And then at Norwalk's Land Under Fire, which they are now hosting as a regional, and then the U.S. Nationals will be our first, I highly emphasize the word attempt, at running 2 cars simultaneously at an event. It's something that we're really excited about. You talked about full-time professional racers like the McPhillips and the Myers of the world out there. We're somehow dipping our toe into the water by trying to run multiple cars in the top alcohol dragster class. And it's something that we're looking forward to learning a lot about, because 2025 will be when we really try to put a concerted effort to be a 2-car team. So get a taste of it this year and probably lick our wounds a bit, and then go really full steam ahead at it in 2025.
All right, before we dive in directly on Angelle and Antron and last year, this year, man, I just want to talk about the look that you all have had. Like, the cars have always, in my opinion, been on point, and some of the most eye-catching cars out there. Like this one. I love this edition of Fun That Flip. And then, this looks so good. And
that energized car is probably one of our all-time favorites. That thing, especially when it was under the lights like you just had it really started to show out.
Just sick. And I've seen, I don't know if I posted it in where I can, oh no, here we go. I'd never seen this one, but diving through the Champion spark plug one here. All of these are sick.
I appreciate that.
So who the heck's doing them? Is it you, or is it some other design? I mean, at least the willingness to say, hey, we're going to make our cars look sharp. And I can appreciate that. And they always do.
All right. That means a lot to us, because we try to take a lot of pride in our operation. So I design all of our cars. It's a labor of love. I a creative professional at trade. And I will say that designing on dragsters is probably one of my least favorite things to do. But it's cool to hear the feedback that they've come out pretty decent. We've always been very proud of the look of them, and try to make it so that it is, one, very professionally branded, but 2, something that if you're sitting in the stands, it's a really unique looking vehicle that's out there. So that's great to hear.
Yeah, man, they're always on point. They are sharp, and I can appreciate look, I like how carbon fiber looks, but not every car needs to just look like carbon fiber out there.
Sure.
Play off of it, work with it. And you all have certainly done a spectacular job with that and keeping the ride sharp. I'm going to post this photo. And from this photo, give me your thoughts on that phone call of day one to do one race at the Texas Motorplex with Angelle and Antron.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it was just a really unique opportunity. So we were first approached about this. It was last year at Reading, actually. I was there shooting video for Ron Capps and Steve Torrance and Josh Hart. And Ted, one of Antron's business managers, came up and said, hey, I would like to have a meeting with myself, you, and Antron about a potential opportunity to rent your car. And we had a race the following weekend down in Charlotte. And then, as I mentioned earlier in this call, that was scheduled to be bring the car home, put it in the rafters, sayonara, let's move on to bigger and better things. And I told them that we had no plans to do anything else after Charlotte because we needed to start taking it apart to build this new car. They said, well, we're in a really tight spot at the moment. Antron and Angelle are working together as the debut of the AB Motorsports or AB Accelerate program. And we have someone lined up for Vegas and Pomona, but we can't get a ride currently from anybody that we're talking to in Dallas. And that was because last year was the first year that they, at least in the past few years, that they transferred the JAGS All-Star race from Indy to Dallas. So the traditional cars that are hard runners and that are available for rent were all booked up because obviously they run very well and people would be participating in the All-Star race. So I said, okay, this is really unique and it's humbling as well that you would even consider us. So I reached out to my brother, and over the course of the next day and a half, had a couple meetings with Antron, and we said, let's give it a shot. So we went down to Charlotte the next weekend. We qualified number 3, and then we actually went up. We spoke the tires first round, took the car back, and immediately started prepping because a week later we were going to go over to Indy to get Angelle fitted for the car and then get her to make a few laps. And the whole process in terms of getting things set up and making laps with her was just awesome. Antron was so hands-on. She was so grateful for the opportunity to be able to run this event when they were kind of up against the wall, and everybody just gelled extremely well. So we were really excited about going down to Dallas. And then, as you mentioned, it turned out well. We had a few hiccups in qualifying, but came out of the number 16 spot and then won first round and also second round against Tony Stewart and made it all the way to the semifinals. So everybody just had a really great experience. She went on to have a great 3 races with the Samsel family out in Vegas and Pomona. She did a great job driving. And I think it just opened her eyes to the opportunities and just how great the top alcohol dragster class is. And it's really reinvigorated her. And it's also, I think, it's made almost Antron seem like a kid in a candy store at times as well, where he's seeing the progress of this dream he's had to facilitate a driver development program, as weird as that is to say about Angelle, but she'd never driven anything from a 4-wheel standpoint, especially at that speed prior to last year. So to see the progress and also the validation of what he wants to do, just a great way to end last year and a lot of momentum coming into this year.
She has certainly progressed. I happened to, what race did I get done with? I got, World Fuel Altered Nationals, Eddyville Raceway Park, wrapped up with that. And the NHRA was up there at Brainerd. I'm like, hey, Iowa isn't that far from Minnesota, at least on my scale of things and the way that I travel these days. I'm like, yeah, I'll shoot up there. And you were up there that day doing some work for the shootout coming up. And lo and behold, there is Angelle hopping in a car. And it's like, oh, this is interesting. And everybody paying attention and was able to film that. And then Doug Foley's like, yeah, I need you to be over here, help me out in Indy testing. Guess who was there in Indy testing? It was Angelle. So got the whole licensing process. And then to have this focus on alcohol that I did last year, you can see this progression. And it is a fast track of progression, and her doing a tremendous job for someone that hadn't done anything on four wheels this fast and in competition. With you all dealing with her so closely, what were some markers as a driver yourself that you were able to see even on that one weekend with Angelle of her tackling and surpassing and succeeding?
Yeah, I think that what was immediately apparent was just her understanding of where she was at on the track, how quickly she grasped different procedures. I think that it can't be understated that her whole experience of the class last year was diverse, to say the least. She drove, I believe, 4 different cars in like 6 different times of racing. So she licensed in a handful of different cars, and she raced ours for the one event, and then she raced the Sampey families to close out the year. So every single team, for the most part, yeah, they run their cars similar, but there are certain nuances that are very critical to the starting line procedures and staging procedures, et cetera, in terms of preferences based on how teams set up their vehicles and want them run from a tune-up standpoint. So she was able to come in and really embrace every single team's procedures and make sure that she was not quote unquote the weak link, and always showed up prepared, had a great attitude, and never got in over her head. Like there was a time out in Vegas where I was out there shooting, I was watching when she was driving Sampson's car for the first time, and her chin strap wasn't fully tightened, and she was on pace for what was going to be her greatest run ever in Q1. But when the clutch was starting to lock up, it was literally started trying to rip her helmet off, and she stepped off the gas. She didn't try to force it down the racetrack or anything like that. So, I mean, it was very apparent that she was a professional racer, and she does take this stuff incredibly seriously. And the learning curve was greatly accelerated because of her past experience, and it made it a lot easier, I think, as well on everybody else that worked with her, because she was very prepared to not make quote unquote rookie mistakes that you may see elsewhere.
And she's doing all this against big names, Tony Stewart in any form of motorsport, Chris Demke out there at Las Vegas, former world champion, and in fields such as the regional, the second quickest ever, and then in Pomona, the quickest ever top alcohol dragster field. So fast tracking in some of the toughest competition, in the toughest period of competition in top alcohol dragster. So she is certainly prepared for 2024. This in particular, looking ahead, I mean, man, that's a lot of races. Going for a championship, regional, world, and with extremely stiff competition out there. Julie Nate is coming back to defend her title with Randy Meyer. Randy Meyer loves winning championships. You've got the McPhillips out there. I'm sure they are chomping at the bit to have another crack at this thing, with Tony Stewart narrowly missing a world championship. So without doing this many races, what do you think it's going to take to do this many races?
Yeah, this whole year is going to be a major stepping stone, learning experience, et cetera, for us. Right now, I think there's also opportunities too. As you can see, we are on the shorter end of the regionals side of things. We're going to start out at Belrose, which is her home track, which she could not be more excited about, to get some family and friends out there to see it. And then we're going to do that Night Under Fire regional that's happening. But there's a good chance that depending on overall funding and in partner situations, that maybe the Vegas regional out in October, November gets added to the schedule. There's a chance that maybe we run the Indy regional, et cetera. So it can actually expand from what it is. But this is something that our team has been looking to do for a long time. We've never, since we purchased a car, ran for points. So this is a great opportunity to finally kind of use it as a measuring stick to see where we stack up. We think that with the amount of time and runs that we're going to get to make this year, that we should really hopefully be able to continue to improve on the solid foundation that we've built. We feel like we learned a lot in Dallas last year that has us really excited for what we can do with her in the car, starting Belrose and then moving into Gainesville from there. But for our team, we're heavily investing in everything that we stand for, and then also just from an operations standpoint. So we hired our first full-time employee to work in the shop, so that'll help us with these quicker turnarounds where normally we would set up our schedule to run one race per month. I have a business, my brother has a business, most of our crew guys also have full-time jobs as well. So that was sustainable, but to do it now at the pace that we're going to, had to hire someone full-time. So check that one off the list. We just invested in a new rig that will be able to withstand the rigors of life on the road a little bit better, as well as be expandable to have the second car come along with us. So that was big there. And then to go to some new facilities that we've never been to, but have always wanted to. So we're going to go to Brainerd. We can't wait to experience the zoo. I've only been there on Monday, like you mentioned, during the Monday Nationals. So I didn't get to see, I saw the aftermath, but I didn't get to see the during the event portion of it. So excited about that. And then to go out west to race against some new guys in Vegas and Pomona. I've been there many times working, but never with our own car. So overall, extremely excited. It's such a unique and big opportunity for us. But at the same time, we're really focused too that we've talked so long about, well, if we could run some more races, or if we could maybe try and run for points, I wonder where we'd stack up. Well, now it's time to find out. So really excited about it.
In particular, with Belrose coming up, the NHRA season starts so early, whether people realize it or not, especially on the divisional, regional side of matters. The hometown girl is going to have some hometown support. And I love this aspect that someone regionally decides to step up as a regional sponsor at a regional with Top Alcohol Dragster and support someone in Range. So what can you tell us about this partnership with Range and Mr. Billy Lawson?
Yeah, so Range is, as you mentioned, stepped up to get her to this event, which is a really big deal for her friends, her family, to be able to come out. And now that the Cajun Nationals have been off the schedule for a really long time, she didn't have very many races that were close to home. So everybody's really excited to come out to this. And if I understand correctly, I believe that the gentleman that does own Range is actually her next door neighbor. And yeah, there he is. And they have talked for years. He's got a massive interest in anything mechanical, motorsports, etc. Talked for years. He said he always wanted to sponsor her, but he thought it was going to be on a bike. And this is such a unique opportunity to do it on a dragster. So as a whole, everything came together perfectly. And they're all super excited about being able to get out to the track. And then she's really looking forward to racing it at home in front of friends and family.
Man, that is definitely cool to see. Wish we would see that more often, and I think that needs to happen more often. When you go to a regional event, in those marketing departments, pick up some regional sponsor. Maybe they're not the primary, but they're on that car, some shape, form, or fashion. Whether it's Funny Car, whether it's Top Alcohol Dragster, and you have that regional nameplate along with you when you go to these places. And maybe they're not interested in the marketing platform nationally, which makes sense for some when it comes to marketing. But yeah, do it at your home event or within your region. That is fascinating and so cool to see that is happening. Now, with Angelle doing Belrose, and you mentioned Norwalk, what region is she competing in? North, Central, or Central?
So technically she's actually, I wouldn't even say she's running for a regional championship at all. The only reason that she would be picking up the regionals that she is to add to her overall national point total. Just given the sort of, I guess, the preferences of the partners on the car, activation needs to happen. I know that you and I are very passionate about growing regionals. At this current moment, she can't activate the way that she can at national events. So that's the reason that the schedule is so national event heavy. The hope is, especially with Belrose, is going to be a great turnout because of her local presence there. Night Under Fire, as we've talked about many times before, is probably a bigger crowd than any national event you go to. Opportunities to do the Cletus event in Indy, those are ones that we're trying to really figure out ways to get to, because activation can still happen. And then also we can round up what those regional points could potentially be to put together overall a national points chase, if you will.
Well, that answers really my next upcoming question with looking at the schedule. You mentioning activation. That's why I assume something like the Baby Gators is not on here, though that's a prestigious regional event, a crown jewel of the sport on the regional side, if you will. You're not going to have that activation like the Gators itself at the Baby Gators.
Yeah, that's correct. And it's a tough one too, because especially with already being down there, we'll run Belrose and then take the rig over to Gainesville and actually go home and work for the next 2 weeks, and take the weekend off of the Baby Gators with just general prioritization based on the partner commitments that they currently have on the car. It just didn't make sense to do Gainesville 2 weeks in a row, because you're going to have a place that's just packed to the brim the weekend after. And unfortunately, just based on the past, the regional in Gainesville is very much a racer's race, where competition is through the roof, but you're just not getting any type of fan presence there outside of maybe a couple hundred people. And as far as bang for the buck is concerned for sponsors, that's a hard sell.
Right. All right. That's some hard reporting, but some real reporting right there. And I think something that the NHRA needs to take note of, not that they already haven't, but how do these regionals become bigger events in and of themselves on the calendars for the NHRA fan, for the NHRA marketers, for the participants in the NHRA. Well, let's transition now over to the React 104 side of things, from the car owner and the car driver. With React 104, where does it start with you dabbling in photography and videography and showcasing the side of the sport from and through the lens? Because, what you're doing out there, to me, it reminds me of like NFL films and how they made football look just epic. I mean, football on TV is entertaining, but NFL films made it epic and made it, the images and the Sam Spence music and the narration, just there's things that stick in my mind. And I'm not even a Raiders fan, but the autumn wind, so on and so on. It's there. And I think of like Tom Landry and Shadow at Texas Stadium and stuff like that. You're creating that for drag racing. So how did it start, and where do you all want it? Where do you want it to go, frankly?
Yeah, well, that's really good validation, because a lot of people ask me, like, what's the inspiration behind it? And I said it was growing up. I was just a massive sports fan, and NFL films kind of stuck out in terms of being able to take what is just an epic visual spectacle like the game of football, slowing it down at times and trying to tell these really cinematic type stories. I saw that there was an opportunity within drag racing. And going back to Mark Thomas, we talked about earlier, that was how I kind of got involved in the sport. So I went to a couple of the events that my brother and my dad were at, and I just brought a camera, and I didn't know really what to do to work on the car at that point. So that was my way of contributing and helping him make some marketing things. And it's slowly grown through the years. And then it really took off back in 2019, I believe it was, when I did a film for Norwalk's national event. And then got connected with the NHRA. They had me do some work at the U.S. Nationals and one of the Winter Nationals, et cetera. And I've had the opportunity, thankfully, to develop some great relationships, not only within the NHRA, but also with the PDRA and Tyler Crosno. And it's just been something that was kind of a slow build until last year I went full time. And then through some great relationships with people like Natalie Torrance, who she's connected me with so many different teams and businesses that activate within the NHRA, has grown to be something that I knew could be sustainable, but to the level already just 12 months into it, that has vastly exceeded my expectations to where we're kind of going here in the future, which is not only just focusing within the racing space, but have branched out with a lot of the brands that activate within the NHRA. So whether it's doing some stuff with Napa, Bernie's, Coletta Air is now a big client. It's really come full circle to show that not only can we do stuff to represent your drivers, but also the businesses and brands as a whole. And that's where I think things have really made the future look a lot brighter than what originally anticipated.
Well, folks, look, in the comments section, I've put Corey's YouTube channel there, React 104. Definitely go by and subscribe when you get an opportunity. You can see a lot of the great work that he puts out right there on YouTube. And by the way, Coletta Air and React 104, dude, I can't wait. That is going to be some epic stuff. Like we talking about parachuting out of something. I'm joking.
I mean, so it's funny because they want at some point, they're like, you have to go with us on a flight in one of the 747s just to show kind of like what goes on, because they're in a very pretty big campaign at the moment in terms of trying to recruit employees, and pilots are one of their main focuses. And I said, yeah, that sounds great. And they have routes all over the world, and I figured they would do the one from Oscoda up in Michigan down to Cincinnati because it's just a short flight, and I'm from Ohio. Like, no, you got to go to Shanghai. And I'm like, I don't think I can shoot for literally days at a time, especially up in a 747 and have the battery power for that. So, but yeah, I just such a unique opportunity, and seeing those things and the hangars and stuff in person, it's just mind-blowing in terms of the scale of what they operate at. And I don't think, between what I've learned from Capco and Coletta Air, I think the drag racing community respects and appreciates that those companies are involved in the sport, but doesn't have the slightest understanding of just how large and the scale of these operations are to be able to contribute at the volume that they are. And it's unbelievable.
Right. Yeah. You speak to anyone in aviation, they're going to know Coletta Air as if it was like John Force. They're going to know that. If you speak to people in the pipeline industry, they're going to understand Capco. And people don't realize how many miles of pipe there are, and that our society, our modern day society, is built on pipelines.
Yep.
You get it off a ship, and it is piped to a refinery, and then it is piped to a tank, and then it goes on a tanker. You are rolling around on your car by something that was piped, more than likely one way at one point in time. And Capco had something to do with that, more than likely.
Absolutely.
There are some massive entities within drag racing, and hence why they just have Capco on the side of the car.
Absolutely.
So with React 104, you've got these great cinematic pieces, but that doesn't mean that all of the content out there should be cinematic. I've heard you talk on this, that teams really need to understand it's about the whole portfolio, and it's not just cinematic or like a straight cut scenario, if I can put it that way. It is putting it all together. So when you look at PDRA, NHRA, and down to the team level, what does the portfolio look like for proper content, getting the news of an event, of a team out there to the public?
Yeah, I think like the headlining pieces that I make in terms of the ones that make it on to like the YouTube link that you posted, those are the ones that they're highly produced, and that's why they get the type of feedback and the eyeballs on them that they do. But that's just I would actually even say one of the smaller pieces of the overall puzzle because of the timeliness of them. These are pieces that are coming out sometimes a week, sometimes a month, or even a little bit longer, depending on what they are, after the event or race, whatever it was that it was created from. And they need to have that level of wow factor in order to still resonate with people. But the other side of the coin is the stuff that is real time. And I'm thankful that I get to partner with a lot of different people that either creates opportunities for me to supplement content for them, or they take care of it while I focus on the stuff that's going to come down a little bit further down the line. So being able to give stuff that's a little bit more raw and in the moment, whether that is something as simple as a cell phone video or someone that has just a basic camera, those things drive tremendous amount of value as well, because you're consistently getting out there and getting in front of people and providing them with content that keeps them up to date with what you are doing. And then you can follow it up down the line with some of the stuff that like I mentioned, is a little bit more highly produced and stuff that is, I guess, glamorous in terms of the storytelling value that comes with some of those feature pieces that we've done in the past. So it's a combination of multiple things, and you can't really just have one or the other to be able to get the full impact that I think a lot of people are after.
Gene Grant throws this question out. He says, how do we bring back mainstream consumer products sponsorships to the sport? And I think we already see some of that in drag racing happening right now. Pomona drag strip, In-N-Out Burger on that name plate with that brand of drag racing, and then Mission Foods itself. But how does it continue? How do we continue to fuse the outside of the automotive, if you will, into the automotive?
Yeah, and that's something that we, from a Michalek Brothers Racing standpoint, are continuing to strive for as well at the moment. We've been very fortunate to have some success in the past in terms of bringing in some non-endemic partners like Fund That Flip. A lot of our deals are based on a handful of different things, but there's a pretty large business to business aspect of our deals that are put together. So being able to bring the React 104 offering to our partners. So like Fund That Flip, there was always a component that was in there in terms of just general creative deliverables or digital deliverables that went in there. And then on top of that, we would bake in hospitality, which was actually pretty unique from an alcohol team standpoint. There are not many teams that are out there that currently are able to support something like that. Had a great program with Fund That Flip in terms of being able to bring out investors and people that were flipping houses to be able to connect them at the racetracks. It's a unique environment. So being able to, I guess, be really creative in what you can offer is going to really kind of help you separate yourself from the rest of the pack. And like I said, the number one is the B2B aspect of things, that they got a race car almost as a bonus in all of our programs. The rest of it was around being able to give them discounted rates on specific aspects of things that they needed from a marketing standpoint, and being able to provide a really unique platform for them to entertain their employees and prospective clients that the rest of their competitors were not able to do. And it's been a very successful partnership.
Boom. There you have it, folks. Business to business hospitality. It is amazing in drag racing how big hospitality drives so much of the partnerships out there. It is astounding. And that's why it's so important. That's why you see those extra long awnings out there. And that's why other teams are trying to figure out how to do it. And then there's teams, I think like Paul Lee, they have a whole rig that you can rent out. And I got a quarter and a full and a half, and it's all built around hospitality. It's insane how big it is for drag racing. Well, Corey, look, I've held you for a good little while. Last question I've got for you. So car owner, cool. The cinematic efforts of the React 104, cool. But man, look, there can't quite be nothing like driving. And I know you're going to have some time behind the wheel to get well over 270 miles per hour and turn on a wind light. What are the driving dreams, though? What does Corey want to do in holding a wheel out there in the motorsports world?
Yes. So since we really became heavily involved in the sport, we've had a singular focus, and that was to find a way to someday get into Top Fuel. Every decision that we've made to this point has been in line with kind of staying focused on that goal and finding a way to get specifically there. So being focused specifically on dragsters, previously crewed on a Top Fuel car, when choosing Top Alcohol Dragster and going the injected nitro route, it's well documented that other than just initially starting the car, the rest of the driving procedure is pretty much one-to-one with driving a Top Fuel car. I got my license back in 2018 or 2019 in Pat Dakin's Top Fuel car as well, just to validate that this was something that would be attainable from a driving standpoint. I mean, it's scary as you know what, but it's the most thrilling thing that you could ever possibly do. I mean, the A-Fuel car is bad at the bone and it's fast. But Top Fuel I don't know how it's possible to go up another level on top of that. I mean, the jump from Super Comp to A-Fuel, which was 3.5 seconds, felt minimal compared to the 1 second drop or whatever from A-Fuel to Top Fuel, just because they're that violent. So that is still the ultimate goal. We need to find another zero for our budget in order to do something like that. It is a big step up there. But by partnering, I think that's one thing too, just to touch back on the Angelle and Antron partnership. It is their goal to get her to Top Fuel, just like it is our goal to get ourselves up there. So to be able to go kind of lockstep with them and seeing the steps that they're taking, being around Antron and his team and the way that they operate, and understanding kind of what we need to work on, what we need to be considerate of, and see what it takes to get there. That is, it's priceless in terms of what our overall goals and journey are. So this is more than just about putting or having the opportunity to put someone like Angelle in our vehicle. It is another step in the overall journey to be able to hopefully one day, before we get too old, but we've gotten to the point where we're starting to age ourselves out of the target demographic for a lot of things, that we're able to get out there and really truly compete at the ultimate pinnacle of the sport. So we are far from giving up on that, and we feel like we're each year slowly getting a little bit closer.
I love it, man. And you all are, you come into the sport, a few races here, a few races there, most races you ever did last year. This partnership, it's building, man. And it's cool to see you all on a ride that has an upward trajectory. That is cool, man. Thank you for the time. This has been very cool to have you on and chat with you and get your perspective and get the information looking into 2024 with a great partnership you all have with AB Motorsports and Angelle Sampey. I look forward to being down there at Belrose myself. That's the plan, and do some coverage for that first event of 2024 with you all there, and maybe, just maybe, a Wally.
Excellent. Well, appreciate you having me on. And also, just to reiterate, really appreciate what you do for our class and the classes and the Lucas Oil Series. Everybody loves racing just as much as they do up in the Pro Series down in our class and some of the other ones that are running there. So to be able to get some eyeballs on it because of the coverage that you're providing is a really big deal to all of us. So appreciate that. And if you need anything when you're down in Belrose, come on by the pit.
We'll do, man. We'll do. Thank you for your time, Corey.
You bet. Have a great night.
Well, folks, so we're going to take a quick break, and right after the break, we'll dive into some drag racing news. There is plenty more happening in the world of drag racing, and drag racing is not just NHRA Top Alcohol Dragster or Funny Car Competition, though that is a great segment of drag racing right now. After these words, drag racing news.
If you own a beautiful modern muscle car like this 1320 Challenger, I'm sure you don't want it stolen. Because the Challenger and many other modern vehicles have an easily accessible neutral release strap. That was your coin holder in your center console, and beneath that there's this red cord that someone can pop, put it into neutral, and potentially easily steal your car. But at Destroyer1320.com, they have the TDS, Theft Deterrent System, which is a cover over that strap using factory mounting points so that you don't get popped by a thief. So make sure to go to Destroyer1320.com using promo code MMR for 15% off and get your Theft Deterrent System TDS and steal the thieves' hope.
And in drag racing news, and there is plenty of it across the board, and we're going to start with some, Association news, sanctioning body news. WDRA, Northwest Regional Raceway up in Canada. They have become a WDRA track. So Canada loving the WDRA, the World Drag Racing Alliance, as they continue to move forward as a sanctioning body. The IHRA is making moves. The NHRA definitely has its platform, and the IHRA has retained tracks. The IHRA has brought in some new tracks, one that we will mention in just a few moments here on Drag Racing News. And the WDRA is making their presence known in the drag racing world. I just hope that they all get along and the drag racers win. That's the main thing. Funny Car Chaos, Nitro Chaos news. Chris Graves dropped the schedule today for the Funny Car Chaos Classic, also featuring Nitro Chaos at the Texas Motorplex. So April 3rd through the 6th, and then tacked on with the Texas Motorplex, there are also to be Eclipse festivities. That's going to be happening, and it's going to be a great viewing spot there in Texas for the Eclipse. But you've got Wednesday, April 3rd, Simple Things is parking, but then Thursday there's pre-party and testing, rolling into Friday where there is qualifying and on-track action, and Saturday you have the last round of qualifying and eliminations for the biggest funny car race in the world, the Funny Car Chaos Classic, for the first time ever, featuring the kickoff to the Nitro Chaos season down there at the Texas Motorplex. This is going to be a spectacular time and show. It continues to get better and better. No telling who will be there in action for this event. Cannot wait to get down there and do my part in the Chaos brand and experience this event and share it all with you out there in the world of drag racing. Now, Ryan Hill, he'll be there, I assume, crewing for Dad or driving. Maybe they'll have 2 cars. Maybe they have 3 cars. I don't know. It's all about the chaos, and it is chaotic. This is going to be the wildest weekend to date. Yes, it is going to be a wild one. Then remember, just down the road, we've got Chaos in the Cornfield back at Eddyville Raceway Park, and that was a spectacular event. It's going to be another spectacular event, so it's good. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. Southeast Gassers Association, we oftentimes have their winners and champions right here on Between the Slicks. Going to be continue to chat with their champions. We talked with the new owner several weeks ago, Leslie Horn, driver of the Chick Magnet. Their first race of the year, the Southern Nationals, the Rumble and Ringled, Brainerd Motorsports Park. That's Georgia. March 22nd and the 23rd. Love the posters that come out for the Southeast Gasser Association. I've got many of them behind me. They look so great. And then the Shelby Nationals at Shadyside Dragway for the Southeast Gassers Association. That's going to be their second race of the year. And if you want to catch Southeast Gassers Association action, well, take a snapshot right here or go to their Facebook page and follow them and get this photo. Here is the schedule. You can see them in Georgia, North Carolina, Ohio, Tennessee, South Carolina, Kentucky, all rounding out, as well as Mississippi, all rounding out there at Shelby, North Carolina, at Shadyside Dragway. And speaking of Shadyside Dragway has a tremendous long history in the world of drag racing. And it has a tremendous long history in the world of drag racing with being a track that is an outlaw track. Here recently, they decided to connect with the IHRA. They have been holding Southeast Gassers Association events and no prep events. Corey Stamper oftentimes is there and putting on no prep events and small tire events. And there's, nitrous only events. It has been a track deeply associated with pro mod movement in the world of drag racing, especially in the Southeast. And you would find, as we understand, big names today racing there back in the day, such as a Scotty Cannon or Todd Tutterow. Those individuals even though it's probably a facility that might not have been holding those type of events, they were doing it and doing it at a high level. It is an interesting facility. It is a throwback facility. And it's a facility that upon my first visit ever there, I said, all right, this is a cool place, but it does need some work. But the people that are there are putting in the work. And an area where they needed work was in seating. These photos from the Shadyside Dragway Facebook page, they are working on that very thing. You're looking at the grandstands for Shadyside, and you can see additions being made, footers going down to, it appears to me, to get the fans higher and closer to the track. And at Shadyside, it will have more than likely an up and over type of effect where you'll be able to see over the hill that is really almost part of the wall at Shadyside. Here's another great view of what they're doing and expanding there at Shadyside Dragway. This is great to see Love Tracks making improvements to their facilities for the fans and for the racers, and it is certainly needed. The last Southeast Gassers Association event there that closed out the Sega season for 2023, wow, it was a tremendous turnout at that old facility. And I'm glad they're able to make upgrades, and they are making upgrades. And from what I understand, they're doing even more than just this. So we got to reach out, possibly get some individual or a couple of individuals from Shadyside on the show, talk to them about what is happening at that historic North Carolina Southeast drag racing facility, one of the oldest that there is, flat out, period. I think they were doing drag racing on dirt there at one time when it first got going. My dad talk about Shadyside, and he was back in the drag racing scene in the mid-'60s, and that it was a place in which to go race, and they did racing with Gene Cromer and see that car over there behind me, the actual Shadyside poster. So good to see that facility doing what it is doing. Let me go to the comment section real quick, see what is going on. Drag Racing Mayhem, so much for it being in the Southeast, LOL. Well, you know, Quayne Stott oftentimes remarked that if he knew it was going to blow up as big as it did, they wouldn't have named it Southeast Gassers. They would have done something else. But it certainly, the popularity of it has allowed it to go beyond the Southeast. And Ryan Hill, we need Sega at a Chaos event. Look, I want to see that mesh up, man. I've talked to Chris Graves about it. I've talked to Leslie Horn about it. And there seems to be some positivity over it and it happening. I don't know how it all can come together. It would be cool to see it at a place like Beach Bend. That would be fascinating to see. That's still kind of southeast, yet it's still kind of middle part of the country for the Chaos guys. Maybe there's another facility that would fit, but I would love to see that mesh up of Chaos and Sega. That would be spectacular. And young Pablo, they are adding more walls to the right side shutdown area. Someone is bound to go into the trees. True. And I'm glad they are adding those additions and doing that work for sure. It was definitely needed. Overall, with the ownership and whoever is there with Shadyside, they're thinking ahead and they're looking ahead and they're making things better. Like the concession stand there is nice, and they made some updates to the restrooms. The restrooms that they have are decent restrooms and an improvement upon what they had in years prior. So just love to see facilities step by step making steps to be a better facility. And speaking of that, when it comes to facilities becoming better, give me just a few moments as I make a quick search. Mocan Dragway is also going to keep updating their facility as well. And they've got a program right now concerning paving the pits. And if I can snag a photo real quick, I will bring it up and let's talk about that. Mocan Dragway, one of the best little drag strips that there are, one of the best fan base in all of the country. They have a program right now to pave the pits. And that is a project that they've known that they've needed to do it. They have wanted to do it. And the ownership there and the management there at Mocan, they have slowly, hey, we're going to do this, and then next year we're going to do this, and then next year we're going to do this, and they're doing just that. They are actually looking for partners in this, and with you partnering in the project, it includes a sponsorship package. So if you are interested, take a snapshot. Mocan Dragway, there near Joplin, Missouri, northwest of Joplin, Missouri, just near Pittsburgh, Kansas. If you are a business and you are looking for marketing opportunities, this is a great marketing platform with an avid fan base, and I think a fan base that will return your investment to you. And certainly, I believe the racers, because of many of them being such of the caliber of the Chaos Racer, and it is often reported that those in Chaos, they give back. There is ROI on your investment and your marketing dollars in that brand. So help a drag strip out and partner in this project, Pave the Pits 2024. Again, it's great to see tracks taking steps forward. Drag Racing Mayhem. Sega at Cecil. Okay. I like that. That'd be cool. Young Pablo, not going to lie, Southeast Gassers at Brown County Dragway would be wild to see. Brown County. I want to do some research. That doesn't come up to my recollection at the very moment. I want to do some research on Brown County. There are so many facilities. I was recently doing some research in Central Tennessee, what drag strips there are, and I'm like, oh, wow, there's more racing facilities in this part of the country than I realized for drag racing and beyond. Continuing in drag racing news, wow. The U.S. Street Nationals happening this weekend, one of the big ones in Outlaw Pro Mod and Door Slammer drag racing, $32,000 to win and beyond for other types of door cars. Spectacular event down there at Bradenton Motorsports Park, just outside of Tampa, Florida. That is happening this weekend. You can see it on Flow Racing. The biggest names in Door Slammer racing, they are there. And when we talk about already news coming down the pipeline, big news already coming down, and in the terms of performance. The Mississippi Missile, Jason Scruggs, they unloaded with, at that time, the quickest 8th mile pass for a door car in history. 3:46 elapsed time in the 8th mile. You can see by the time slip there that they didn't go on to push it out the rest of the way. They were shooting for that 8th mile time, but we were not done. Todd Moyer, I hope I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, in a Carl Stevens tuned Jerry Bickle race car, shocked the drag racing world with this pass. Reaction time, we don't care. It's testing. Balls to the wall testing, in fact. Because in the 8th mile, he went a 3:45 with a 7 at 233 miles per hour. The quarter mile elapsed time, a 5:14 with a 4 at 273 miles per hour in a door car. A moment of silence. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. Spectacular that they were able to do that. And from what I have heard, there is full intention on getting more than just that. And it is out there, apparently. Who would have thought that we would see door cars dip down to this? I mean, we're talking about, at one time, Nitro Funny Cars were doing this not too so long ago, and it was accepted as a good pass. And this is a door car on methanol at 514 in the quarter mile, 273 miles per hour. I can remember I was at Virginia Motorsports Park a couple of years ago, and I was watching Ricky Smith doing testing at VMP after an NHRA national event. And I remember remarking to myself, he went like 256 miles per hour. And I'm looking at the scoreboard. I'm looking at the mile per hour. And I wasn't so astonished by the ET, but I was thinking to myself, wow, that's less than 50 miles per hour to 300. What is 50 miles per hour in the day and time in which we're in? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's not that big of a deal. Your car easily goes 50 miles per hour. I mean, if they're able to get 250, they can eke out probably another 50 miles per hour. And wow, look at this. 273 miles per hour. Now, sure, I understand we're not talking about NHRA rules and it's outlawed, but it is just spectacular for something with a suspension to go that straight, that quick, that fast, and it be, though streamlined and aerodynamic and all of those things, well, effectively still have doors that function and operate. It's pretty freaking spectacular. If I may, though, just how spectacular is it that you have NHRA, Funny Car, and Top Fuel doing what it is currently? Notice that 1,000-foot ET, 4:36. That's an outstanding time. But yet, you have Top Fuel dragsters going into the low 60s, 360s. And you have Funny Cars going into the low 380s. And we have surpassed 300 miles per hour at the 1,000-foot mark. What is happening in drag racing right now, and they keep pushing the boundaries, is absolutely astonishing. It is truly spectacular where the sport is right now. Let me go to the comment section. Jacob. Oh, hang on. Drag Racing Mayhem. Let me go there first. Do you think us possibly seeing a 4-second door car take away of the casual appeal from Big Show Nitro? No. Because you're talking about quarter mile difference, you're talking about different rules and different packages. And look, frankly, I don't think people realize what 320 feet is. 320 feet is a good chunk. And you have NHRA, nitromethane powered Funny Cars and Top Fuel dragsters doing what they are with a cap on certain areas of research, getting out of them everything that they're getting out of them. I mean, look, you have Funny Cars going back to the 380s, and we're not in the laid back header era. Like, it's not supposed to happen, right? I mean, they're doing 300 miles per hour to the 8th. That's not supposed to happen, right? And they're continually finding ways to advance. It is seriously impressive. Cannot take away from someone going into the fours, and it's apparently there, and it can happen. Is it going to happen this year? Maybe we're 5 years out still. Maybe that is just still maybe even 10 years out. Remember, we're still waiting for someone in Mountain Motor Pro Stock to make that perfect run and light the scoreboards up in the 8th mile, 3:99. We're still waiting for that. We've been waiting a while. It's out there. It can happen. So, spectacular. It is spectacular. But no, I don't think it's going to take anything away. Jacob chimes in, Brown County Bean Blossom is in rural Indiana. Is that the track that they've got the no prep events and it's out like next to the creek and it's out in the middle of, yes, had a strip of grass between the lanes. Yes, I know what you're talking about now. Thank you. I know what you're talking about. Yes, young Pablo. That would be cool. That would be cool to see. I know what you're talking about now. Thank you, Jacob. McLeod 917. Drag Racing Mayhem. I could see if tracks would get back to running Pro Mod Quick 8 shoots out at their weekly points races. Yes, and some tracks are doing those programs, but Lancaster Dragway, when I first started, you can see the videos on the YouTube channel. They had the Outlaw Superchargers, I believe it was, and it was a local group. Frank Malvaso was heading it up, if I remember correctly. And if you can go with this, like nostalgia outlaw pro mod, if you will, and it was cars that were of that period that we all love of pro mod, and they were having the Chicago style quick 8 type shootouts, and that was cool. It was cool to see, and they were popular nights at a Lancaster Dragway there east of Buffalo, New York, and some good drag racing. Certainly tracks having more programs like that, I think that can be appealing. Ryan Hill, we need to uncork an A-fuel dragster. And it's out there. It's out there. It would be fascinating to see. I mean, from what I understand, if there was more clutch management, if there was clutch management, we'd already see them in the 4s. But I think rule package-wise in the NHRA, that would cause quite the enigma. But I think it's there. I think it could already happen. I mean, heck, it might have already happened. We don't know about it, and no one has said anything to this point. But there's no telling what just an injected nitro dragster could do out there if uncorked, as you put it, Ryan. Hey, Cameron Caruso is going to have a new partner going into the one race event of the Skag Pro Shootout, Aquaprop. They are involved in the natural gas industry. It's exciting to see new partners in the sport coming along, and also tried and true partners. But you see Fuel Jewels, you see Hub Saver. Hub Saver has had an association with the Southeast Gassers Association in the past. You can see Wright Trailers, VP Racing, brands that we're familiar with, but it is great to see a new name in Aquaprop in drag racing. Speaking of partnerships, Sean Reed, who will be doing a full season, a comeback season in NHRA Top Fuel, Reed Trucking and Excavating. But notice Redline Oil will partner with him. And speaking of the partnership there, I've also got to bring it full circle and update you that they do have their fuel tanks coming to them. McKinney Corp does some of the best fuel tanks in the industry, and many of the fuel tanks for the Top Fuel and funny cars in the NHRA and beyond. And you are looking at the fuel tanks for Sean Reed. Matt there at McKinney Corp does some of the best work out there. And he got these wrapped up earlier this week, and they will be delivered to Sean Reed's team to be installed to go well over 300 miles per hour, 1,000 feet, holding that wicked precious potion, nitromethane, before long. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. I'll go to the comment section here very quickly. Young Pablo. Honestly, the usual ETs for Top Fuel were around 390s Fords when they first started running 1,000 foot, and now they are almost in the 350s. So if they ran quarter again, they would probably be close to the 420s. Yes, that's accurate if they were able to make it. I mean, there's a lot to be stated about would they even hold up, for example, to that point. Dive into some of the interviews had with Mike Salinas, and hopefully can have Rob Flynn come on. I wanted to talk with Rob Flynn originally on the CompetitionPlus.com peak pit note that I had to do with Mike Salinas, because Rob Flynn, he was feeling fine, but his voice was not fine. He had lost his voice there at the national event Worldwide Technology Raceway this year after Charlotte and that run that they were able to pop off that 300 miles per hour. They fully expected it to be a 340 mile per hour run in 1,000 feet, that it was there, that Mike clicked it off a little bit early, and they were going to hit 340, and it was going to be a new mile per hour record and a new ET record. That they expected it fully, that it would be there. So if they were able to keep it all together to a quarter mile, it would be spectacular for sure. They would be go quicker and faster than what Doug Coletta did at the 4:42 of the 0, if I remember correctly, at Chicago. If I'm recalling it correctly, many years ago. But you're right. At one time, 390 was something that would qualify you. And someone like a Terry Totten in his program, they were able to make shows. That's not the case now. The tech gap has closed with a cap on research in certain areas, and that has drawn the competition closer, where you have to be in the 370s to be a player. And I understand this working with Doug Foley. Doug Foley comes back and into the sport, and they're able to qualify, they're able to be competitive, but very quickly things advance. And where he would have been qualified, the year prior at like 8 or 7 or even 6, he's now just making the field with a number that would have got him towards the top half of the chart. It is absolutely insane how competitive it is out there right now in NHRA Top Fuel and Fuel Funny Car. It is wildly impressive of what they're doing in 1,000 feet, 320 feet less. It's astounding. It really is. I know there are so many people out there that harp on, 1,000-foot racing sucks. Well, one, the only reason you're able to tell is because there's a scoreboard. Most of the people out there, I don't know how many people chime in regularly on videos. And they're like, is this 1/8 mile or is this quarter mile? Or is this 1,000? They can't even tell the difference. Like, count blocks. A drag strip is a huge tape measure. All right? Count the blocks. It's not that hard to figure out. And if you've got to ask what distance it is, I'm not saying you all are in this very moment, but if you have to ask what distances is, do you really know drag racing that well to chime in about what you do and don't enjoy? Turn the clocks off and you're probably not going to know the difference. Anyway, though, I don't understand how people cannot appreciate racing to 1,000 feet with the professional nitromethane burning cars and what they're doing today. It fascinates me how you cannot appreciate that. It is outstanding what they are doing right now. I mean, you got to remember, there was a day and time people said 300 miles in a quarter mile would never happen. 4 seconds in a quarter mile would never happen. And look what they're doing with 320 less feet. It is absolutely outstanding. Drag Racing Mayhem. The advancements in ET are much slower in the Nitro classes compared to Pro Mod. That guy beat the record by 0.2. That's crazy. Well, yes, because there is a cap on technology advancement for the Nitro cars. And we have also got to a point with the Nitro cars that what else can you get out of them? I mean, Goodyear is the only one making a tire to withstand what is going on, and they barely are making that. And when I say barely, I'm not saying they're doing a bad job, but Goodyear, I'm glad they're making it because no one else wants to make it. No one else wants to take the challenge. No one else is vying for that job or that role. Thank God Goodyear's out there making the tire for the sport that can hold up. So that's why you're not seeing major advancements. There's not much more to get out of it. And you have with the door car world, they're going bigger and badder in the outlaw segment, taking less weight out to be able to go quicker and go faster. So that's why you're able to see so much advancement. you're growing up in a time where you're seeing these major advancements in the door car world, but there was a day and time where you saw these major advancements in the nitro world. Jacob McLeod 917, thanks for streaming. It says, thank you for watching. Ryan Hill, we'll end with this. Chaos Banquet. Yes, I'll be there. I'll be there. Chris has got me tapped to do some announcing for the practice tree program on Friday night. Looking forward to that. And also we'll be conducting interviews, getting photos Saturday night. And the current girlfriend will also be attending with me. That running joke now that I have with her since I said what I did last week's episode. And looking forward to it. Ryan, coming to take all the money. Hey, man, do it. And I'll remember you said that live and call you out if you don't take everyone's money and you go out like round one in the practice tree. No, it's going to be a great time. Looking forward to it. My first visit to the Chaos Banquet. And I know everyone had a great time last year. And Chris is like, yeah, sorry, man. We'll get you there next year. Didn't think it was going to be a good time, but it was a great time. And looking forward to being at the Hard Rock Casino and Hotel in Tulsa, Oklahoma, coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Corey, oh, man. Michalek, there we go. Corey Michalek, thank you for the time. And we're going to have a great season of NHRA drag racing coming up. Great season of Southeast Gassers Association drag racing. Great season of Funny Car and Nitro Chaos drag racing coming up. It is all about to fire off. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Hit that like button. Hit the share button. I'm Lee Kraft, a.k.a. the Monday Morning Racer. God bless and keep the pedal to the metal.
Power-Built Tools exemplifies innovation in the tool industry. From hand tools, power tools, and even tool storage. Check out powerbuilt.com for Power-Built Tools. And remember, use promo code MMR15 for 15% off at purchase.